What's our percentages, John, of making the postseason?
It's less than 1%.
It's less than 1%. So this is the late
ass cheek, man.
So this is the late season preseason lineup basically. So that's how I'm looking at this. This is evaluations of the new players or the young players for the 2025 season, and this is probably the best way for even D-Law to recollect his mind to say whether or not he's going to hang it up or play for another team or come back to play here. Who knows? So yeah, it'll be better for us to wait for D-Law for 2025 and get a true evaluations of Marshawn Kneeland and whoever else that need to be out there getting evaluated.
Now, to go with that, John, is there any sense in the organization that they want to bring D-Law back? Because
yes, that's a good question. Great question.
I haven't gotten that feeling, just because I know we'll get in more into the offseason in a little bit, just free agency and things like that, but I don't get that feeling that, and the reason I say that is because for DeMarcus to come back, it would probably have to be some type of team-friendly type deal, and I don't see DeMarcus doing that. And I do think DeMarcus wants to keep playing. So, that's one of those things like some of these other guys that we'll talk about later where you're just like, yeah, some of these guys are positioned themselves where why would they take a team discount? They're going to try and get the best thing for them. And so because of that, that's one of the big reasons they drafted Marshawn Kneeland in the second round. That was one of the big reasons they were hoping Armstrong and Dante Fowler, hey, they can get a big step forward from Sam Williams. And obviously that was derailed very early on out in Oxnard, California for training camp. And so I would say that it's probably a better bet that they go into next season with their edge rush being Micah Parsons, Sam Williams, Marshawn Kneeland, and then else that they draft, whether it be somebody that falls to them at whatever, 14, 15, 16, that maybe they're not planning on right now, but it's such a good value that they can't pass it up.
Don't you talk about that first round draft pick being on defense, John. We talked about this last week, man. Don't do this. Don't start this episode off like this.
Well, hey.
Fourth round. Like
attack on the Cowboys, man. AOC, a lot of things have changed since that time frame.
And that's very true.
And to be fair, Trayvon Diggs is out for 8 months or 9 months or however it may be. And now that's the area of need, drafting the cornerback. And I ain't going to get on to Will Johnson, but if he somehow falls and slips, and I know he's been hurt or what have you, but you talking about he's falling to that spot, what would you do?
Veteran.
What would you do?
Veteran.
What would you do? How you going to pass up? I know you like this right now because I know you're a draft guy, but what would you do?
If Will Johnson's there at 14, you turn the card in. Yeah.
You turn the card in. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I wanted to ask you this, AOC and Law. Did it help this year in a weird way that Tank was out and some of these guys actually played well, i.e. a Golston, i.e. there were games, especially I felt like Pittsburgh game where
Carl Lawson. You were able to find some value, man. You were able to find some value. I absolutely agree, bro. I think DeMarcus Lawrence not being out there while he is still playing at a high level. We're not going to act like DeMarcus Lawrence is a chump now. DeMarcus Lawrence is still playing good football, okay? Yeah. But I think him being gone kind of gave the Cowboys brass more confidence in what they were thinking all along, and that's the fact that we have some young guys that are ready to step up. And I think that's the biggest thing that we've kind of seen over the last few weeks, especially after Micah's come back. We've really started to see guys kind of fall into their natural roles, and they're really starting to play a lot better. And this defense is really getting more cohesive now.
Yeah. Now, John, I think people need to understand the insight that they get on Cowboys Collective. I want your opinion, being in the locker room. All offseason we heard, is Micah a good leader? Yes, he podcasts, and AOC hit it right on the head with Micah stepping up. What are your thoughts on just the way Micah has came back, not only played great? To me, Micah's been – this last 4 games, I get the sacks. He's been the best defensive player in football, in my opinion. To play how he's played when he was – when he was not on the field, the way our defense looked, versus when he's on the field, the numbers are skewed to just how our pressure rates are up. The secondary looks better. Gee, I wonder why. So what do you see from him just in the locker room? Is he more locked in? Is he still the same player and he's just good as hell? What do you see?
I think it's more of the latter there. I think he's a really good player. And everybody else has to, you have to respect that. I mean, I just go to the fact of whether you like him doing podcasts or times where maybe he says some things after games that might rub you the wrong way, you have to go with the production on the field and just, let's be honest, the wins and losses. I mean, since they drafted Micah Parsons, it's 12 wins, 12 wins, 12 wins. And then this season, when he's out there, I believe that they're 500. And so there's a decent chance they finish with a winning record in the games that Micah Parsons is on the team. And that goes back to the whole, that talk last week of maybe the Cowboys wouldn't, or the Cowboys might entertain the idea of trading Micah Parsons. The NFL Network story that was put out over last weekend.
Brother.
That's why things like that is why that's not going to happen, because he equals wins. And I understand that they haven't won in the postseason, and that's obviously what they're missing. But since Micah Parsons put on a Cowboys uniform, it's led to a great production, not only on the field, but in the win-loss column. And so I think that anybody would tell you that there's obviously things he could do better to be a little bit better of a leader. I think that's stuff that Mike Zimmer's worked on with him and stuff that Dan Quinn has worked on with him. And I think that comes with maturity and just being in the league longer. But there's one thing that you can't deny is that when he's on the field, he is doing everything he can to try and wreck games. And there's just so few guys that can do what he does. And so even if he was a locker room cancer, which he's not, but if he was that, you still would probably put up with it, just because you're like, on Sundays, he's such a monster that you just have to deal with stuff like that. And again, he's not a locker room cancer, but you see stuff like, not just in football, but in sports in your life, and that where there are those situations where you're like, yeah, maybe it's better just to get the guy out of the locker room, whatever. I don't see that, especially in the NFL. You got to get your most talented guys out there. And even if you had one or two bad apples, you got to work around that, because that's just the way it is. This is professional football. This isn't your local high school team. This isn't your youth Pop Warner team. This is to win football games. So, but with all that being said, I've never thought Micah was on that level where it's just like, oh, this is behind the scenes, he's just causing so many problems. He's never been bad.
What about Trevon Diggs? We seen a random report come out this week. And this is the perfect way to segue for us. My bad, bro. But
no, do you think?
Yeah, we seen a random report come out this week, actually last week, at the end of last week, about the Cowboys front office being with Trevon Diggs' approach to his rehab. John, where is this coming from? Have you at all heard any inkling of this? Can you give us any kind of context as to what they could be frustrated about, if it's true, at all?
Well, there's a lot of people in the organization that you can talk to, and maybe there are some people, but nobody I've talked to has said that, and I don't think anybody in the front office feels that way. And when you talk about the front office, I mean,
decision makers,
you're talking about Jerry, Stephen, Will McClay. That's it.
Yes, sir.
I don't see them putting something like that out there. I will say, Trevon Diggs is one of those guys that he's not really in the locker room a ton. When it's locker room availability, if he didn't have to talk to us, he would be just fine never doing that. And I think he's one of the guys that he talks because if guys don't talk, you'll get fined eventually.
Right.
But I haven't heard anything like that. And Jerry on the radio this week has certainly made it sound like he's never heard anything like that they have any questions about that. So I don't think that's an issue with Trevon Diggs. My only thing with Trevon Diggs is that there's just been plays where you'd like to see him be a little bit better tackler, and then he'll have a game where it's bad, and then the next game it seems like you know that the coaches or the film or whatever told him he's got to be better in there. He's probably never going to be. I thought it was funny. He said this earlier. He's like, I'm not Cam Chancellor, but he's never going to be like that type of a tackler, but there are games where it has to be better. But then you also have to factor in that now that we know about the knee, that maybe that's part of it too, where he's like, there's some situations where he was like, I can stick my head in there, and then I can also be lost for the rest of the season too. So maybe some risk reward there.
And so that's interesting, because I've actually heard from a few sources that Trey is, I won't say that he does rub them the wrong way at times, but it's like that. I don't know if he gives his, I get where you would come from in that, John, is like, I don't know if he's your try hard player. But he is a great player. But like you said, there's been times that we've kind of seen it on film. It's like, I don't know if I'm gonna make that tackle. I don't know if I'm gonna stick my nose in there. And then there's games where it's like he'll do it on purpose to do so. So, that's interesting, to say the least.
Say the least, yeah.
Yeah, and I think another thing is with his injury, it's now a real concern because there's reports again that's going to be floated out all that have been. Micah kind of said no, that's not true, but about the length on his injury and how long Trayvon Diggs is going to be out, a player that the Cowboys just invested in. How do you guys feel about that? Because it's like we're already going into next season behind the 8 ball at the cornerback position.
Well, I would say this though: you just got to go into your year or the season thinking that he's not going to be here. That's how I will operate. Bland is your veteran DB outside of Jordan Lewis, but I would go into this offseason thinking that, hey, before I go into the draft, go find a veteran guy to bring in to help alleviate some of that. And then if you somehow get Diggs back early, then that just be a caveat, or that would just be something extra to add to it. But I wouldn't just say, okay, let's know that Bland would be ready for September and October. No, I don't want to see Bland. I don't want to see Diggs until maybe November or
this time next
December.
year.
Yeah, this time next year. So that's how I look at it. That's how I approach it.
AOC.
I mean, I can't really add too much else to that. I absolutely agree. I think that, personally speaking, I think the Cowboys need to approach building this team this season in particular. Building this team, defensive side, you add veterans to what you already have because there's already a lot of young guys on the defensive side of the ball. You add some stopgap veterans on the defensive side of the ball through free agency. We'll get to that in a second because I already got some names I want to kind of toss at John to see what he thinks. But the draft, man, you gotta go offense, right? That's my thinking. So I agree with Law as far as like going to get a veteran cornerback, because especially if you're trying to make a run at this thing over the course of the next 2 or 3 seasons, really, while you have Dak here and these other guys in the middle of their contracts, you need veterans, man. You can't continuously keep starting over with young guys because you can't expect young guys to perform up to the level needed for a championship type of team. You can't expect that. I mean, I don't think that's reasonable. So
we saw that with Kalen Carson. The game looked to be too much for Carson, and
it's too fast for him, man. It's too fast for him when they first come in, and it's just unfair to even expect it. Like what we did to Kalen Carson, I feel like it's something that Cowboys fans we got to get out of doing to these guys. We got to get out of doing that to these young guys. Same thing we were about to do to Josh Butler before he got hurt. Is we anoint these guys and we put them up on this pedestal. And it creates all this unnecessary pressure and noise around dudes that are really just trying to kind of get a foothold into the building, man. These dudes are just trying to keep a job.
AOC, putting 2-1 on your chest, man, that's gonna put a lot of pressure on you. He could have kept 4-1. He could have kept 4-1. At some point,
we gotta be smart though, as fans. Though that's cool and all, but as fans, we gotta be smart at some point and be like, yo, this dude was a 5th, 6th round pick, man. Like, what are we talking about, man? Like,
well, you know what though, AOC, and then we'll segue to the next point. I think the issue is we don't have free agency. And so what happens is the draft is all we get. We're like, who? Oh, he can do it.
Right now, we get horny for everything. We got a new star, y'all. We got a new star.
I'm probably in the space. Probably the reason for some of that because, I give scouting reports. I do stuff on Twitter where I kind of talk about their strengths. And it's like, yeah, Foots, but you forgot to leave out, Kalen Carson, he ran a 4.5, 4.6.
And we saw it on the field this year, dog. We saw it, dog. Burnt toast. We see
John, you got anything to add to that?
No, I just I'm trying.
John's is glad to be here, y'all. John's is glad to be here, y'all.
So, no, the first part is I get what you're saying about adding a veteran at corner, but I think you might have to do both. You might have to add a veteran. You might have to draft somebody. I'm not saying that's
absolutely.
The only reason I say that is just because, again, I know we're going to get in this, but like, there's no guarantee Jordan Lewis is coming back. This is Jordan Lewis's best chance to cash in. He's going to be a free agent.
Didn't think about that.
If you look at the Cowboys roster now, for them not being a big player in free agency, just look at just this team right now. Like on these 1 year like bargain type deals, Jordan Lewis has been a steal. Rico Dowdle's been a steal. Eric Kendricks has been a steal. And it's almost bad for those people on the outside that want to see them make more moves because the Cowboys feel like they can find more things like that. So I do see them going after a veteran corner, but it'll be a guy on a 1 year deal. So is that a guy coming off of an injury that you think is a bargain? They're just not going to be one of those teams that goes out and is like gives a 2-3 year deal to a corner. And I do think that's what Jordan Lewis is looking for. And this is probably his last chance in his career to really cash in. He didn't have a lot of takers. It sounds like this past year in free agency. And so I think he's playing well this year. Maybe there are some teams out there that are more interested. Now, if it's close, I do think he'll stay with the Cowboys. He loves being a Cowboy. I do think he's there. But I'm just saying for this show's sake, I don't think we can just say definitively, well, you're going to have Bland, you're going to have Jordan Lewis, and then then you got to find someone to fill in for Diggs until he gets back. Your hand might be forced to where you have to sign some type of a veteran, but then you also have to draft someone. Maybe it's the second, maybe it's the third round. Maybe it's like you said, if in the first round there's just somebody there that they're just blown away that player is even there.
Well, John, I got something for you now, John.
Okay.
When I talked to Jordan Lewis, he was talking about the fact that he loved the fact of this system. So Mike Zim may be the final reason why he stays. So is that a situation? Because if Mike Zim go, maybe Jay Lou go. Because that could be the situation there. Because he was smiling big when he found out the game plan on how he'll be utilized and used in this particular system. He knew he was going to have a good season this year.
And he had a great season, Law. It's been outstanding.
Jay Lu's been really good for a couple of years though. Like he's honestly stepped up.
But he's better this year.
This year he's even better.
Like borderline Pro Bowl vibes with Jay Lu.
Yeah.
I think you would have seen some of this though, maybe a year ago or the year before if he doesn't have the foot injury, and that was such a nasty injury that I mean it could have been a season or a career ender. And so there is a part of me that goes, you can't rule out Washington. Obviously Quinn will have interest in him. Like that's only
Jay Lu ain't gonna do it. I don't think Jay Lu gonna do it. Jay Lu understands. He appreciaes rivalries. I don't think Jay Lu's gonna do it, man.
And I 100% agree with you on that. But it just is one of those things where just put ourselves in that. We just
don't do it, Jay Lu.
Thinking of it as yourselves. And I know it might be tough being Cowboys fans, but sit down in that room and let them just put a 1 year just deal you think is so disrespectful in front of you. And then another team comes and goes, no, we'll give you this 2 year deal, and it's just everything you wanted. There's a part of you in your core that would be like so pissed that they didn't offer you even anything close to that. Where there is, I mean, these guys are high level competitors. Where they'll be like, all right, I'll show these guys. I don't think that Jay Lu would do that, but I wouldn't dare him. I wouldn't put him in that position.
And I'll say this to that position, because I'm with Attack on Cowboys. This team needs weapons. AOC is right. We need offensive firepower in this draft. However, the draft scout in me, who's been doing this for a long time, corner, left tackle, quarterback trumps all. And if you have a guy that you have rated a certain way, may it be the kid from Michigan, may it be the kid from ECU who got injured. He was a slotted a top 15 player, and he's sitting. Let's say we win a few more games. Let's say Dallas goes out there and fights, and we'll get to that. And he's staring at at you. It's hard, and with looking at where Diggs is, because it's a win-win. It's not a win-lose. If you get the kid and he's a stud and you have Diggs, it's a great problem. If you get the kid and Diggs doesn't come back, now you're covered. And so at the end of the day, I want a weapon as much as anybody. Everybody knows how I feel about Ashton Jincy. But Law asked a question, and as I think about it and as I hear it, and what you're saying, John, is true. Jay Lu could leave. Like, that's real. He's played himself. It's a couple guys on this roster that have played themselves to more money. Osa, Golston, Jay Lu, Golston. And so when you start talking about these guys, I completely agree. Now, AOC, we're switching gears.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Yes.
Where do you guys stand on both the players are big time players, so you can't go wrong either way, but you got to pick. And it doesn't have to do with this roster, just your own opinion on this.
Okay.
That shutdown corner or the elite pass rusher?
Pass rush.
Y'all go first, man. That was a good question.
I think I'll go pass rush, because, I mean, we see what Micah. People want to talk sacks. Sacks is, to me, a very non-ball knower stat. Like, sacks are great. Give me pressures. Give me a guy who's moving quarterbacks off their spot, John.
I have thoughts about the pressure stat. I have thoughts about that pressure stat.
he said shut down corner. Give me a guy that can shut off the half of the field.
Thank you.
And on top of that can have the quarterback to pat, and I can't really go that way, and somebody else can get the sack. So, and on top of that, with a bad DB, you're giving up 50 yards, 40 yards, or maybe a touchdown. But with a good one, you may give up 5 or 10, but it ain't going to be no score within. So you get what I'm saying? I'm all rhyming for your mind. Come on with it, baby. Come on with it. Shoot. Give me that shutdown DB. I'm biased, by the way, but I'll take that though. Yeah,
I think the easiest way to make this argument, I think the easiest way to shut this whole argument down is a shutdown DB, a shutdown corner. He gonna be valuable every single play. Every play he's valuable. A pass rusher, a guy that's a pass rushing specialist. He's most valuable in pass rushing situations. If he's a great pass rusher, you just said pass rusher. You didn't say just all around edge.
Yeah.
That don't mean he's great at stopping a run. That don't mean he's great at setting the edge. That don't mean he's a big physical player that can just play after play.
You talking about all around? Yeah. So not just a pass
shutdown corner. I'm going shutdown corner every play.
Every
play, no matter if it's a short pass, long pass, intermediate pass. The shutdown corner is going to be a factor every play, bro.
Hey, let me ask y'all a question to piggyback. How many shutdown corners in the NFL?
Oh man, it's only a spoonful. Jeez.
This year?
That shows the value of them.
It shows the value. If you can find one, get them.
My point is, even Patrick Surtain struggled. What was that, last week? They had to switch him on but whoever they were playing, they were playing the Browns. And Jameis Winston was going crazy. And they had to switch him on Jerry Jeudy, and he got beat a few times. So I guess you
go both ways. You need both. You need both of them, man. But I don't know. Would you rather live with Reggie White or rather live with Dion? I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good one. I'm gonna say this though. Micah, it's so funny. Mm-hmm. Micah got a bad rap for not being, and I called it mid-season. He got a bad rap for not being great against the run, right? And I said, and I love Dan Quinn will forget more football than I know, but I say this. Dan Quinn and Washington still struggles to stop the run because of how he plays and coaches defense. And that's the beauty in having Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer coaches the full front. He coaches these guys to play at the line of scrimmage, to do what you're saying, AOC. Let's check the run first. Let's make sure that we are pressing, are using hands. Everybody in Dan Quinn's scheme just flew a field. So that's why when you're playing a Matt LaFleur, who I think, for my money, he has the best run schemes in the league right now. When you're playing against him, you flying upfield. That's what he's going to do. I think Micah is even realizing, like, yo, I got to be better versus the run. So it really is what
let me throw this in at your Foots. As much of injuries we had throughout the course of the year, and we know our injuries been longer than Jay Leno's chin. Right, so we had a lot of injuries. So it's literally our defense ranked 26. Guess where Washington's defense is ranked at right now? 30th. So I'm not beating up Dan Quinn and his defense and what they have over there, but I'm just making the valid point. And I'm not saying that Zim is better, but it just seems like it. Oops, I said it out loud, didn't I?
Nah, man, law, everybody respect law, man. And the fact that one thing Cowboys Nation doesn't do is agree. We're going to disagree about a lot. The fact that we all agreed that Mike Zimmer needs to be the defensive coordinator again.
I just feel vindicated, dog. I was banging his drum so hard during the offseason, during the whole process.
There's going to be a moment during every show where he gets up.
It wouldn't be the Cowboys Collective.
Go to the next topic. I don't even care, man. Go to the next topic.
I don't care, bro. We need you for this topic.
Oh, my God. Go ahead and move to the next topic, man.
For those who don't know, AOC comes with these fire topics, and he's really the GOAT at this. AOC, Micah Parsons said that they are going to be active in free agency.
He said, quote unquote, he said, Cowboys fans, I think y'all should be excited next season, man. We're going to really try to, I think we're going to attack free agent. Me and Jay and Steven, we were on the yacht, smoking the hoagies, and we were talking about what we needed to do. He ain't say all the rest of that, but he did say they were going to attack free agency, though. And so what I wanted to do was, since we just happen to have one of the best in the business in here with us.
Come on with it.
With the machete Machota.
The machine.
The machete.
Machota.
John. Excuse me, sir. Are we going to be active, or is Micah blowing smoke up all of our reticles right now? Reticles.
I don't want to piss you guys off, but I don't want to lie either. I don't see that happening. I think that's wishful thinking from Micah Parsons, to be honest with you. I don't see that happening. I think this offseason will be, maybe there'll be a little bit more than we saw last offseason. I think that whether it's during training camp or maybe it's right before the season, I think Micah gets a new deal. But I don't see them making like major moves in the offseason. And even by major moves, like to me, I feel like where this team's at, like roll the dice on, we've talked about before. I know Attack, you said on last show about kind of restructuring some of these big deals, making a couple moves. I was a big fan. I know it didn't work out last year, but I was a big fan of what they gave up to get Brandon Cooks and Stephon Gilmore at the time. Like I know you can't do that all the time, but mix in some of those moves.
That's where I was going with it.
Yeah, with like some younger guys.
Yeah.
I think that's possible, but the problem that's always been with the Cowboys, like even with those moves, it's got to be something that works out best for them. You don't get the feeling that they call a ton to get those deals going,
right,
where your biggest rival in the Eagles, you feel like they're aggressive, like trying to make those calls.
Right.
Trying to get those
I have two names for y'all.
And they all don't all work out. Don't get me wrong. You're going to have swings and misses, but you just get that feeling that they're going to try. And I think that's all Cowboys fans want, is that let's just go into the season feeling like, hey, we did everything we could to try and put this team over the top. And I just feel like there's so few times over my time covering the team where you really feel like that at the end of a free agency heading into training camp.
Okay, so I did an exercise. I'm about to ask you and Foots and John this question. I did an exercise on my channel earlier. Okay. And we went through and we looked at the available salary cap they have right now, which is $23 million. We looked at what they could open up. I took away moves that I don't think they're going to make. I don't think they're cutting Terrence Steele. I don't think they're going to get rid of both of their safeties. I don't know if they're going to restructure Diggs, especially with this injury now. I don't know if they're still going to do that. So I took that stuff off. We would have roughly about $94 million in cap. After I did all of the math and re-sign guys, I think that they would actually try to re-sign on our team first, right? After we did all the math, we really only have about $25 million in cap space to play with as far as free agents go. Now, with that cap space, and if anybody watching the show wants to see the full breakdown, it's a 20-minute show. We go down bar by bar, man. But with that cap space, there's two players in particular that I think are absolutely Dallas Cowboys moves, and I think that they would satisfy that Brandon Cooks, Stephon Gilmore type of vein as far as adding a premium player at a discounted rate, whether it be because of age or situation. Khalil Mack, DJ Jones.
Ooh, I love the Khalil. I love the Khalil Mack thoughts.
DJ Jones is the nose tackle for Denver. He's going on his age 30. He's going to be 30 by the time free agency comes around.
30 market.
His annual average value is going to be around between 7 to 10 million. Khalil Mack is projected to have like a calculated value around that range because he's 34. So he's not going to get like a premium deal or anything. So he's going to probably get like a 1 or 2 , probably 10 million a season.
Is it a Stephen Jones special?
Is it a Stephen Jones? Is that a Stephen? No, seriously, because you're looking at a Khalil Mack. That to me would be like a pass rushing equivalent of bringing in a Stephon Gilmore right now. So moving to a 3-4, I think Khalil Mack got DJ Jones on that line. With Mozzie and Osa, if they were to bring Osa back, because Osa's gonna cost about $20 million a season. He gonna cost about $20 million, bro. So I don't know if they're gonna bring him back, but they had the money to do it. I think most of the money they have is gonna go towards Micah, Osa, and Tyler. I think that's where most of their money's going.
You know, a name that I was thinking of was Drake Greenlaw, who I don't like free agent.
I don't like
he'll be a fire for us.
With us not having Overshown.
I just hate 49ers. I'm biased.
No, I understand. Trust me, bro. I was, but just
Hey, AOC,
name.
not to talk over your foots, but that's the last time we won the Super Bowl, man, when we snatched the 49ers.
Dre ain't Dion. Stop that.
Well,
Dre ain't Dion, man.
It goes all the way back to Charles Haley plus Dion.
Or Haley. He ain't Dion or
I'm
Haley.
just saying, it just maybe just got to take some of their pieces and
Man,
put it
both
over
of those
here.
dudes were larger than life pieces, man.
But we need an attitude adjuster to get into this. But go ahead, Foots. Yeah.
Well, great.
Yeah.
I think, AOC, it goes back to your point about building in the offseason defensively and then drafting offensively. So I think that with Greenlaw, I think he just will bring an attitude. And because think about it, are we ready to say Maris Lewis-Fowl next year? You're the Mike linebacker. Damone Clark has really played no reps this year. He's pretty much got his job.
I'm a Maris stan. I'm a Maris stan.
I love Maris.
You're gonna get pushback from me. I'm a Maris stan. I love Maris.
So we're all good with him being our starting Mike next year, because that's how it would be.
I mean, would it be worse than having Damone out there, one of them dudes?
Come on.
Marquise.
It would probably be bringing back Kendricks. If
I think Kendricks
here.
is going to be back, bro. I think he's going to be back.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. Are you guys cool with Kendricks coming back?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm cool with him for a cup of coffee. Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Bring him back.
for another $3 million. For another $3 million. A cool $3 million.
But all of this is predicated upon whether or not Zim gets back here. That will be the main source of what we look like during the offseason and how we build this team. John, do you see the Cowboys being foolish enough to use that franchise tag again? Franchise tag Rico. Go ahead.
Don't do
Man.
Don't y'all do that. Steven, put that franchise tag down.
Don't y'all do that.
I'm gonna walk up and leave if they do that with Rico.
Yeah, I can't see them doing that. Not at running back for sure.
Yeah, please,
and
John.
I agree with the tag that. I just think Osa is going to be really expensive. I think that's
really expensive.
That's going to be tough to do. I mean, you bringing up earlier, Foots, about how many shutdown corners are there, how many decent defensive tackles, young defensive tackles.
And have you seen the crop this season?
Well,
the free agent crop this season is ugly.
Johnny.
Yeah.
Osa is the ball
The creme de la creme.
Yeah, he's the creme de la creme this year for sure.
Would y'all pay Osa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I would try to pay him and double back and reach out to Tennessee and talk about Jeffrey Simmons, right?
He just got a deal.
Oh, he got the deal. Lord, what did they pay him?
Let me go to over the cap. I was thinking of him, Law.
Ooh, that would have been so nice.
And they brought in Sweat.
What?
Yeah, Tavondre Sweat. They drafted Tavondre Sweat.
Yeah.
Let me look at Jeff.
Y'all sleep on DJ Jones, man. I just want y'all to know he got the second highest run stop rate for defensive tackles.
I'm gonna have to do my homework.
And he's only been playing 33% of the snaps. I'm just saying, bro.
Yeah,
second highest run stop rate with a minimum of 100 snaps. I'm just saying.
I'm gonna tell Steven that. I'm gonna talk to him tonight.
they gave him $94 million.
Woo!
They gave him that in
It made the internet go out.
Oh, did they?
Jeez.
No, you're back. You're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, 94. So that makes the Osa price even higher. See, Jerry, Steven, you gotta hurry and pay Osa. You should have paid him last year, like I said.
Well, I think it's crazy. Again, sad to say, Law, we answering all our own questions. Dan Quinn, Mike Zimmer. Dan Quinn scheme gets Osa paid. Hey, Osa, don't fly outfield. It's not all about that. He's so active in the run game now. I'm like, dog, where was this 2-3 years ago? And he was good.
And still got similar sack numbers. He still has similar pass rushing numbers too, though.
Is Allen in Washington happy over there, or is he ready to leave?
That's a name, Law. That's a good name that I would. If you want somebody who could sit in the middle of your defense,
man, they ain't gonna be able to afford that, man. Why are we even talking about this, man? Y'all blowing sprinkles up people's asses. Why are we talking about this, man? They're not gonna be able to afford that, man.
We gotta give them names.
We gotta stay in reality, though, Foots.
We gotta give them names.
You gotta go with Bobby Hill from King.
You see what it is, John? John, you know what it is? He's stuck on what's the DJ and them? What's the name? DJ who?
DJ Jones.
Bro, I'm
DJ Jones. You stuck on DJ Jones. That's
I'm
what
trying
it
to
is.
be reasonable, dog. We naming people that y'all know damn well Steven gonna be like, how much is it? Never mind. We are not going to get them dudes, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Allen's probably out of our price range. But it's crazy because they drafted the kid from Illinois high. So it is what it is. Let me ask you guys this. Moving right along, head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. If these guys keep winning, we had a head coach conversation last week and guys that we liked. John, you're in the building. The walls talk. What's the vibe? Is Mike? First of all, somebody made a good point.
Man, Mike coming back.
Yeah, somebody made a good point. Does Mike want to come back? And what would he want his deal to look like?
Yes, he would. He is coming back because he would have been spazzed out on Jerry them earlier this year. He been diplomatic for a reason. He wants his job.
That ain't Mike. One thing about Mike, he ain't. The only person in this world who had the balls to spaz out on Jerry is he don't coach nowhere no more. That's Jimmy Johnson. He wasn't going. That's why they couldn't get along. Everybody else, if you hired here and Bill just said, I'm done with it, I'm leaving. But John, do you feel like he's a lock to come back?
I don't know if I would say. I don't think I would say a lock, but I do.
Okay.
To answer your other part of your question, I do think that he absolutely wants to be here.
Okay.
I do. I mean, I know he likes living in the area. I know he loves how, in the off season, this is one of those franchises where most of the players work out in the facility in the off season. Like, he does like the core of everything they've built there. He loves working with Dak. I know
amazing barbecue.
Right, there you go. I just know that that's a story because I think that most on the outside get burned out by Jerry, but I think it's tough to look past being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I think when you're around it every day, I think that it can beat you down and you to think that, like, oh, there's no value, nobody'd want to come here. I'll believe somebody wants to leave the Cowboys to take another job when I see it. And hey, Foots, you brought up Bill Parcells. I didn't cover the Parcells era, but he is one guy that, he ended up walking away from it. And obviously Jimmy and Jerry parted ways, but I don't see Mike McCarthy doing that. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's more than a 50% chance that he's back and Mike Zimmer is the DC. And if that's the case, it would just be interesting to see how they navigate the contracts because I would be kind of surprised if Jerry gave out another 5-year deal or gave Mike, Zimmer another 5-year deal. I don't see that happening. I think it would be something shorter. But one of the big reasons why I say that too is just not because of all the positivity that you've heard from the players and Jerry about Mike, but you just look across the landscape. You think that
seriously,
if there's a bunch of jobs out there, why is Bill Belichick in Chapel Hill?
That's the one.
And Mike Vrabel's going to Chicago.
Yeah,
they talking about him going to Chicago.
But what was the news that you heard about Mike Vrabel being linked to the Cowboys, or that just something so that his agent can get some traction going for him?
Well, it's a big part of why that one has always had legs is because of the there was a while there where Mike Vrabel was on the competition committee, and obviously Stephen Jones is, and they're friends, and so there is that connection there.
Okay.
So that's always made Mike Vrabel one of those names that people have always mentioned. I saw recently, the Bears were mentioned having interest in him, and you look at, just the list of coaches that are out there right now that will be in this cycle. There's just not a lot of them that you just go, oh, well, they got to do whatever they can to get that coach. And also factoring in what the Cowboys would do, who they would go after. And because of that, it just like, I don't know. Lord. I don't know who's out there that Jerry would go to that really just is the obvious answer that makes so much sense that, oh, this is the person he'd go to. I mean, he loves talking about guys that have already won Super Bowls. So I don't know who's out there that's realistic, that's already won a Super Bowl. To be honest with you, that Cowboys fans would even want. I mean, if you think about like who
there isn't many options.
No, Gruden,
no.
Right.
No, I'm out on Gruden. Yeah.
But the craziest thing is, I got a bunch of people, and my brother is a 49er fan, and I got a bunch of people that's 49ers fan. They're tired of Kyle Shanahan.
They're foolish.
So,
that's foolhardy, man.
So if all of a sudden, and if that happened, if they breaking news, 49ers fire Kyle Shanahan, would he be a target for Dallas?
He'd have to be. I can't.
Yeah.
I get it. 49ers fans are frustrated that they've had these good teams and they haven't won the actual Super Bowl and they've been close. But man, that would. I'm talking about the Cowboys right now. Who are they going? Who are the Niners getting that you're just like, oh yeah, no, get rid of Shanahan. This guy's going to take it out. Like who is? I'd love to hear that name. I would be fascinated by it. There's nobody in the college ranks that's coming up that you feel that way about.
Right.
Sean McVay's got a couple years left on his deal with the Rams. I'm just trying to think of like these younger coaches that you'd be wanting to go to that would make more sense than Kyle Shanahan. But to your point though, Law, if that was to become available, I don't know how that name wouldn't be in the mix, especially when you're Jerry Jones and he loves pointing out like what other teams have done. Look at how many when they hired Mike McCarthy, how much he talked about Mike won a Super Bowl at the stadium. Mike's done all this. You don't think he would think that same thing about, Kyle Shanahan has been a thorn in our side for all these years. And So you go off of his logic. If that was the case, then that would change everything. But I do not see a way that they move on from Kyle Shanahan. I would be stunned.
AOC, you got anything?
No, not on that. I told y'all, man. I don't like to mess with art projects. That's a bunch of sprinkles up our asses again.
Who's your dream coach? Attack.
Hey man, as a Cowboys fan, we currently don't have any space for dreams. All right.
Okay.
So I don't have any dreams. I know Mike is gonna be back. So I'm
setting
my mind on that, bro. I'm setting my mind on that.
No, there's no salary cap on a coach. That's the one spot. So if he came to you and he goes, AOC, who do you want?
Who do you want?
A move.
Bring Ben Johnson up in here. That's what I was saying.
I kind of, it's so interesting, John. I said this last week. I said, and I had intel that Bill was getting the job.
Hold on, we got 100 people in the chat, man. Hey, man, shout out to y'all up in the chat. First time we got 100 people in the chat. Everybody give us some snaps, man. Give us some snaps. Leave a like on the video. Send $100 to Cash App. No, I'm just playing. Hold on, my bad. Not that part. But y'all leave a like, though, man.
But if y'all here and y'all haven't hit that like button, shame. Shame.
Hit subscribe.
Y'all got to hit that like button and subscribe. We
got to get to 1K. We still doing charity. I know it's Christmas, but damn, we still doing charity, man.
And I'll tell y'all this. Law might have something special for y'all. We'll talk about that at the end. Now, I'll say this. When I found out that Bill was getting that job, everybody on Twitter, there's no way that North Carolina is going to meet his demands. Oh, yes, they are. Because they looked at what happened in Colorado, and they brought in a star-studded name and gave him full control. Deion runs Boulder. He's not leaving. Like that whole deal with why would he come to Dallas where he has to answer to somebody? Deion doesn't answer nobody. He can get in the transfer portal. He can do all this stuff. It's the same thing with Bill. I think that, and another thing is this. I read, John, and you can attest to this, maybe or maybe not, that Bill didn't have the traction in the NFL that people would have thought Bill had.
Which is insane to me, man.
Which is insane, AOC. And so all of these jobs, you think about the Jaguars, you think about, I don't know if I think Las Vegas will probably stay in there with Pierce, but you think about the Saints, you think about the Bears, you think about the Cowboys possibly, but we're kind of saying that it's trending back to Mike. Bill wasn't in consideration. That's when I knew for this team, it's probably going to be Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, or Mike McCarthy. And
Mike going to be gone. Mike Vrabel, he going to be gone by then, man.
I'm going to say this. If I'm one of those coaches, I think the most attractive job is Dallas. Chicago
it is. It should be. I mean, it should be, but I mean, it just depends on how much you buying into all the noise as far as, the stuff people say about what it's like to be a coach here. But honestly, financially and everything else, it is one of the premium jobs in all of sports, man. So
yeah, the only ones that would give it competition are ones that currently have head coaches that we don't think are going to be fired, but if let's say
like San Fran or something like that.
San Fran is one, but the other one for me is I know everything's great right now and everybody's loving everything the Bills are doing, but man, if they don't deliver and you have Josh Allen, they could be looking for a new coach, and there'd be a lot of people that would want to coach Josh Allen. I'm not saying it's better than the Cowboys job. From obviously, one, you'd have to live in Buffalo and be cool with the cold weather all the time, but the other part is that it doesn't have the same. Now, it's one of the more popular franchises in the NFL, but it's not on the same level as the Cowboys. The one I'm interested in, again, I'm not saying this one's on the Cowboys level either, but like if they make a move in Cincinnati, just because I know when coaches see that they have a franchise quarterback, Cincinnati's not a great organization. I'm not saying that, but the fact to work with Joe Burrow as he's in the prime of his career, those are going to be intriguing. But again, like I know that there might be some people watching this that are down on Dak Prescott and things like that. But there's a lot of coaches that would love to work with Dak Prescott too. So, Let's not act like that.
So y'all stop, haters. Jerry 10, I seen you in the chat earlier. We ain't gonna get past the there's in the round with Dak Prescott. Shut up.
That made AOC activate to a whole nother level.
Hey man, I see the people in the chat. Hey man, the chat be wilding, man. They be sliding stuff in there. They be sliding that hate.
You guys probably know this about me, and if not, you'll obviously see it throughout these shows. But I'll never get on any of those national shows because there's so little that I feel is just so obvious in this way or so obvious in that way, and there's so much that's in the middle. And so that's why whether it comes to people that think the Cowboys are the worst organization ever. I mean, I'm from Detroit. I mean, up into these last 3 or 4 years, let me tell you about the worst organization. And then the other side is the Dak Prescott thing. Like, there's so many organizations that cannot even find anything close to a top 10 quarterback. And so I get you're frustrated. I understand that. It's been a decade and he hasn't delivered a Super Bowl. But also, we're not going to act like this is just such a bad situation. And, oh, my God, we have to deal with Dak Prescott. Like, I'm not doing that either.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, no, I mean, I even, John, is Jerry the meddling owner that we think? I mean, maybe not. There's been times where he's went all in and trusted coaches. There's been times where he's been, too hands-on. I think that he held on to Jason Garrett too long. I think that, Mike McCarthy, for whatever people want to say about Mike McCarthy, he's been 12-5 3 straight years. That's better than a lot of organizations. It's not a Super Bowl, but it's damn good. And so it's finding that middle ground for me. That is like the why. Because I'll be honest with you, there's no team that's been as injured as the Cowboys. It's not even close. I went to
the Lions.
The Lions.
The Lions. Now, John, with the last two, with losing Montgomery and Ayla McNeil, yes.
Yeah.
Anybody else, John? I mean, Micah Parsons missed a stretch of time. DeMarcus Lawrence gone. Sam Williams gone. You could talk about the offensive line. You could talk about Overshown now. You could talk about Diggs. Was Diggs ever healthy at all? Do we know? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you talk about Bland. Bland steps wrong. He misses half of the year. Think about that. 2 all-pro corners weren't healthy. Bland took 1 step wrong. He was gone till – when did Bland come back? Early November?
Yeah, he just got back. So you've been gone too long. Cooks.
Just because you said take the step wrong, it kind of ties in what we were talking about earlier. But when you bring up Dre Greenlaw, we've talked about the Niners. Yeah. How sick would you be to be in that Super Bowl and be in that position, and all he's doing is coming off the sideline like that? I mean, I mean, I don't even understand. Like, if you're a 49ers fan, how do you get past that? Like, everything was right there for you.
That man must have did some bad stuff in his past, man. That was nothing but karma, man.
Come on, man. See, look at AOC. Wait a minute. How you going to do the man like that?
Hey, man, that was terrible karma, bro.
Remember how hype he was in that game? I remember he was so turned up. It's like,
hey, hold on, stop. What's wrong with y'all? This is a Cowboys chat. Do we not remember how Dre Greenlaw suplexed Tony Pollard on his head? Yeah, Do we not remember that, man? That's why Dre Greenlaw, man. We don't care.
You remember Lion King? They said we can have him on our side. You know what I'm saying? yeah. That's what we said. That's what we said. Yeah. So he can be suplexing other people, on our side.
Until that happens, screw Dre Greenlaw, man. As far as I'm concerned.
I'll say this: philosophy change. I want to go around the room. And I want to ask John, Law, and AOC in closing.
Yes, sir.
I have thoughts of how this team, and I think I'm going to do this probably every show in a way.
Okay.
How this team could get back to improving and being back to at least a bona fide playoff team and right there boxing with Philly. I still think that Washington is farther than they think, and we kind of proved that when we beat them, Law. I don't think that was a fluke. I still think that Dallas is a better team and knows how to win more than Washington does. But for me, it's what AOC has been saying, and I believe it. Draft offense, run the hell out of the football. Like, run, get the attempts up between 2 guys to 30 to 35 attempts rushing. And maybe not that many. That's crazy. But to get maybe 25 attempts, John, 30 attempts. That's what I believe we can get back to being a good football team. Because what we've seen with this offensive line, and it's a makeshift at this point, because we're playing with backups all over the line, and we're still running the ball. That's me. John, where do you see this team at least being relevant next year?
Yeah, I don't even have that much to add because I agree with everything you said. I mean, I've said before, like if you say there's one player, who's the one player they could realistically get that would make the biggest impact, it's Ashton Genty. But I get that people are going to hate that. I get that people don't want to use a first-round pick on a running back. I get that. But I'm talking, if you're talking about like for these next 2 or 3 years, your best chance with that window right there, that's the quickest way, because I do think if the running game gets going and it looks next year like we've seen these last few games, that's your quickest path. It helps the defense. It'll help
100%.
Dak. It'll help the passing game. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm saying one player that makes the most sense to me. But if you tell me that they find some way to bring Rico Dowdle back and they use a 2nd or 3rd round pick on a running back that complements him, and they do it with more of a 2-back system, I'm not saying that that's impossible. But if someone's like, hey, just one player that's realistic that could turn this thing around, and a lot of it has to do with just what I saw them do in 16 when they drafted Zeke, and that's the best possibility that could happen.
I stole that from you, John. Yeah, I stole that.
Yeah,
from you.
See, look at that. Thief. but I would say this though, Foots. The Cowboys, historically speaking, they always been built like what John just said. You know, you can't name the Super Bowls without Tony Dorsett, without an Emmitt Smith. You know what I'm saying? Or you can't even name the big run that we had in 2014 without a DeMarco Murray who had 1,800 yards all purpose in that particular year. And he was the offensive player of the year. Tony Romo only threw for 300 yards one time that entire season, right? And then if you go back to 2016, of course, that was the magical year of Zeke and as well as Dak Prescott. But if we can get back to those ways, but I don't want you guys to be lost if Ashton Genty is not there or Marion Hampton is there. Don't sleep on Caleb
Caleb Johnson's my guy.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. I got my 10 backs up already ranked. So if
you got your 10 backs?
My channel. Oh yeah. I got them.
I'm gonna go pick them out.
You got
the Ohio State boys.
Both
Man,
of them.
Bring us some top tier talent. I'll be happy. Any top tier talent, man.
What's the gap you have between Genty and whoever, like the next guys? Like how far is it?
So for me, John, and I'll give you my 5. I went and this is how I look at Ashton Genty. People will say they're now, this is what Twitter does. Well, he's Melvin Gordon, or Chuba Hubbard had 2,000 yards. And I just say, well, now let's talk about the yards after contact, because you got to remember, Melvin Gordon had an amazing O-line of Wisconsin. Ashton Genty doesn't have that. And it's so my running back too is Caleb Johnson, John. And it's a round difference. I wouldn't draft Caleb Johnson in the 1st round. He may get bumped up there, but I'll be honest with you, it's not close, John. And when we see it in the college football playoff, and just how he's going to get his, you're not gonna stop him. He hasn't had under 100 yards this year. Do we realize how special that is? Like, we just take this for granted, John. Like 100 yards a game, he's just gonna go out and rush for 100 yards.
100 yards, you know. Regardless of the level,
it's because of his conference. It's because of his conference. That's why people. That's why people ain't really paying that much attention to it.
What bothers me is that's fine, but I mean, he's went for 200 yards, I think 4 times. So it's like these guys just don't need to play football in his conference if he's that good. And it's like, no, he's that good. So for me, John, I have a really high grade on him. Not to cut you off, Law, but you good. High grade on the guy, and I just think that. You know, if you don't, this is the good thing about this draft, and what Law is saying is, this draft is a lot like the receiver class from last year, running back wise. Yeah, it goes about 5, 6, 7 deep. Here's the difference. How do you think Rico? If you think Rico is a 1, which I don't, I think this is more the scheme and the blocking. I love Rico, but I think that you can get better, and I don't want us to let good be the enemy of great. So,
but let me ask you this,
man. I love that. I love that, bro.
So you broke that down though, but I'm gonna ask you. This is like a hot seat thing, though. You know, if you had Tet right there and you have Genty, but if you know that you can get Caleb in the 2nd, what will you do?
Oh well,
you got Caleb. You can get Caleb in the 2nd, or you can get Amarion and them in the 2nd, or the Ohio State boys. You know what I'm saying?
Tet will be hard to draft away from, Law. I just did that whole. I just preached a sermon on Genty, but
cause now your mind is like, I got Lamb, I got Ted, and now I got Caleb. Oh shit. See, that's why I love the draft, because I love these possibilities, you know. But go ahead, give me. What would you do?
Ain't that more fun doing what you just did than trying to name defensive guys? And that's so much more fun, bro.
Bring the excitement. I'll say this, but I'll say this, Law. I will 100% go Ted McMillan. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that type of, now you have a guy, which Love Tolbert, I can't overrate him anymore. Now you have a guy who's, I mean, John, you live with Calvin Johnson. The measurables are Calvin Johnson-esque. Yeah. And so now you pair that with CeeDee Lamb. Everything I just said about running the ball, throw it out the window. the scheme changes. So yeah.
Is Ted as physical as Calvin though?
You know what's scary, Attack? He's not as physical, but he's close. Like he's not soft. Most tall, wiry guys, you think of them as jump ball guys. The thing with him is he's going to be a 4 or 5 athlete, and we fall in love with guys at the combine and the underwear Olympics. But he has a lot of run after the catch ability. Hey, I never thought that CeeDee Lamb would be there at 18.
Yeah.
I don't think, like, I don't know how evaluators looked at CeeDee Lamb play football and said there's 18 players in the draft better than you.
Yeah. But 6'5", man. Yeah. Shoot, that boy pulled the ball out of the sky.
You talking about Dak
John,
Friendly?
You on mute? I think you muted your. I think you have your mic. Muted.
Yeah, your mic red.
Look at your mic.
Your mic red. Yeah, there you go.
You're back, man.
Yeah,
You're back. I'm learning this thing. All right.
We got 150 people in here for John's mute, though. How about that, man? How about that? Hey, 150, man.
What about Justin Jefferson? How does he fall that far?
Ooh.
Yeah, farther than that.
I'm glad because
cocaine.
The Eagles was crazy. The Eagles drafted Jalen Reagor. They were like, yeah, give me Jalen Reagor.
Oh man. But at night.
Yeah.
I think what happens is, and we know this, Law, when these guys get out of pads, evaluators just go. It's just like I just look at them, and it's like, slow down. Now, I'm gonna tell you,
man. I want to make a joke. Y'all paused me earlier, but y'all ain't gonna pause that.
I'm gonna tell you, AOC. The player who could fall is Ashton Genty, because when you look at him compared to Caleb Johnson, when you look at him compared to American Hampton, you're gonna say this short guy, he's I look at Hampton, muscles on muscles, 6'1". I mean, he's gonna be a 4 guy. So it's those things are how I believe guys fall. People overthink themselves.
Yeah, because he's what, 5'9", 5'8", 5'9".
He's gonna be 5'9".
5'9", okay.
Yeah.
5'9".
Yeah.
Hey, AOC, what are your thoughts on fixing the team?
On who?
On fixing the team and how you would.
Okay, so the path right here would be, I mean, if you're going to I'm assuming we're bringing back the same coaching staff. I told y'all, I'm relegating my mind to that, all right? So we're assuming we're bringing that back. Like I said, I think John is right on it, man. I think with that first round of Genty is there, getting that running back is going to be the one piece that can completely flip a lot of dynamics with this team. Just with one pick. So you get that running back. Then from there, you go ahead and get everything else you need as far as whether it be tricky. We only got, to be honest, this team is in a better position than what we may feel due to the kind of season we're having, because I said this during the offseason, and I feel like the injuries kind of like fogged that up a little bit and made it more difficult to evaluate properly. But I said it, man. I was like, the guys that we lost during the offseason, those were depth guys and veteran Stockbridge guys, bro. We can replace that, and I think that the young guys we have, a Golston and some of these other guys, they showed that they were able to be replaced. So I don't think the Cowboys are in nearly as bad a situation roster-wise as people really are making it out the seam. I think that the pieces that are missing, though, are so important that it makes everything else look out of whack. So running back, got to go there. You got to get a receiver. I think you got to get defensive line. I think you got to draft a safety. I think you got to get a corner. I think as long as you address that, you bring some veterans in to play linebacker if you don't see anybody you like later in the rounds, but you bring some veterans in to play linebacker, I think you're good, bro. I think you're good.
Let's pretend that there isn't a salary cap, and let's say they brought back all those guys, to your point, AOC, like they got Biotish back, Dorrance, Dante Fowler, Stephon Gilmore, whatever. Like, how much better do you really think that this team, like with all the other injuries they've had this year, like
I don't think they would have been much better. I don't think they would have been much better, bro.
I think we win a few of those games. I mean, you saw how many yards.
Which one? No. Which one?
You see how many yards? You see how many yards Carson gave up? Carson gave up for a 40-yarder, 50-yarder, 60-yarder.
Hey man, I am not putting no 40 and 50-point outburst on one player, bro. I am not doing that. I am not. Dante Fowler and Biotish and some of the Dorrance, them dudes was not stopping us from getting blown the hell out.
I'm so glad.
Biotish ain't gonna get your quarterback killed.
Me too, Foots. Biotish is an average. He's a replacement level center, man.
We give Dallas hell, but they did a great job moving on from him and drafting BB.
I give you that. But what I'm talking about, collectively speaking, there was a learning curve there. That's all I'm saying.
Fair. But let me ask you this right now. Okay, this will be a great exercise. Hopefully, BB plays versus Philly. I want you guys to look at Biotis next week. This week when they play Philly, because I've been watching him, and trust me, when Dallas played Washington, he had his hands full. There was no movement in the run game. There was pressure in Jalen and Jaden Daniels' face, and that was a lot of the same stuff. That was a lot of the same stuff that would happen with Dak. So I think that's actually a good exercise, John, because some of those guys, go with Dan.
They're depth pieces, bro. They're depth pieces, man.
Man. We had some guy named Shaka Tony. We had some Rexaroni. We had some guys out there. You can't tell me, man, that Armstrong wouldn't have helped a little bit. Come on, man.
But we're looking at
some pieces.
But we looking at the injuries though, man. Like you gotta think, Sam Williams would have been getting those snaps the Armstrong got. I think Sam would have gave us what Armstrong gave us, if not a little bit more, bro. You know what I'm saying? I think the injuries and the fact that the coaching staff or organization, whatever it was, I don't know what it was, but it felt like organizationally everyone wasn't on the same page or had the exact idea how they wanted to use the guys that they did have. Yeah. And I think more than anything, that's what hurt us, man, because they kept. But think about it, the first 5-6 weeks of the season, they running out Deuce out there, and they didn't know who the hell they wanted to play, bro.
But can we agree to disagree?
No.
That Gilmore is better than Carson.
Yes. No. I agree with that.
At least help me out with that. I don't bring back Gilmore at least.
But I don't think Gilmore would have stopped us from getting 50 put up by the Saints or one of the other teams.
Maybe
we seen it happen to him too last season. By the way,
but maybe the football gods don't allow Bland to break his foot. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and you have Bland and Gilmore.
That's true. I think Gilmore not coming back was a big mistake.
It's crazy to think that they could have been on that back end if they don't have the injuries to Diggs and Bland, because I do think Diggs and Bland and how well Jordan Lewis has been playing, man, they would have been set up so nice that even like a Kalen Carson could have been brought along slowly,
eased in,
forced into having to play early and. But obviously injuries are a big part of it, so it happens. But
y'all better leave Kalen Carson alone, man. Quit bringing that man name up, man. He a 5th-round rookie, man. Leave that dude alone, man. Leave him alone, man.
Going into training camp, though, it did look like that. If they had those three out there, they'd be in good shape.
What number, John? What number he was wearing during that time?
Here we go. Terrence Newman's number? Was it 41?
I'm just messing with y'all, man. Hey, but I like Carson. Though. I like Carson. I just let him know that we're gonna slowly bring you on next year. Hopefully everything else work its way
out. In closing, we have to attack both. What Micah said, will it happen? I don't know. I think John kind of. Hey, slow yourself down. But I believe that you can't. I don't think there's any way.
I think Micah's saying that for a reason, bro. I'm telling y'all, they was up there sitting up eating grapes, and
no way that they could just say. And
he said that for a reason.
You said it last week, John. Why would Dallas show their hand right now anyway? What they would do, but there's no way that they say, you know what? We saw ourselves get injured this year. We saw this team get injured. We saw us have to play guys like a 5th-round pick, and not to rag on Kalen Carson again, but how could we do that again? How could we just say, you know what? We'll just try this again and hope it works. Like, that would be insanity. Now, it's probably I'm talking on both sides of my neck because it's like, okay, do you bring back Mike McCarthy? Maybe that's insanity, but I think the injuries is going to be his saving grace. So
I don't think y'all giving enough credence to Micah Parsons and his influence. Because if you think about it, bro, Micah, since he's like, especially over the last year or two, he's had a lot of influence with this roster, man. Mozzie Smith, round 1 for one, and then outside of that, he brought 2 of his Penn State teammates here too, Amani Warrior and Shaka Tony. Shaka Tony, you know what I'm saying? So he done brought some of his Penn State alumnus here as well. Micah has more influence than y'all give him credit for.
Well, he may have a lot of influence, but Stephen Jones also as well. He likes to say this: we did sign a lot of guys in the free agency. We signed our own, you know, and then he will say, hey, if they signed Rico, and then we had to move money around to sign Rico. We had to move money around to sign Chauncey. He was a good pickup. He's going to make those type of movements of his mouth of saying that these are the free agents guys that we get. And then when we finally get a free agent guy, y'all say it with me. Come on, I know y'all been say it with me. When he finally do sign a free agent guy, it'd be the name of James Washington. He said, look, James Washington, I signed the guy.
Here you go. Alan Hearns.
You know I'm telling the truth, John, right? Man. You remember James. And shout out to James Washington, though, by the way. But, it is.
You can't say shout out to him.
Hey, we wanted.
I hope he's watching.
Me and James, good friends.
hey, so guys, in closing, listen, this is Cowboys Collective, man. This is episode 2. This has been a banger. But we want to get your guys' questions for next week. So drop some questions either on this chat right here or in the comments on the replay, because the replay value has been crazy. The fact that you guys almost got the last video to 1,000 views, and this is like our second video, is amazing. So
actually, it's almost at 2,000 now. Oh, you're slacking.
Yeah, I'm a bad.
Yeah, you're slacking.
My bad, bro.
It's almost at 2K. And we got y'all see that pretty football right there? Law, go ahead. Yeah, it's almost it's at 2K. It's almost 2K,
man,
bro.
Claps in the chat. Nah,
come on with it, man. Come on with it, y'all.
Hold on, Law. What do you have with the special effects?
Oh, okay. I'm getting there. Here we go. Woo!
Now, we're gonna do our 1,000 subscriber. We're gonna do a giveaway of a signed Cowboys football. So let's get this thing to 1,000, man, and then we'll go for 10K. And I believe
indeed,
sooner than later.
Let's get it.
Yeah, hey, man, y'all hit that sub, man. Everybody in here hit that sub, man. This is fun, fellas. This
is definitely fun, man. So John Machota, Attack on Cowboys, Law Nation. I'm Foster King. As always, guys, thank you all for liking, sharing, subscribing, and just like that, Cowboys Collective.
Yeah, peace.
Peace.